The U.S. Supreme Court is restoring broad access to the abortion pill mifepristone, blocking a ruling that had threatened to upend one of the main ways abortion is provided across the nation. Today's order, signed by Justice Samuel Alito, temporarily allows women seeking abortions to obtain the pill at pharmacies or through the mail without an in-person visit to a doctor. Those rules had been in effect for several years until a federal appeals court imposed new restrictions last week. We are inside 6 months from the fall midterm elections. Early primaries show Democrats are embracing progressive candidates in hopes of flipping the House and the Senate and severely curtailing President Trump's legislative agenda. Here's Chief Congressional Correspondent Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill with the Democratic strategy.
Democrats veering left for the midterms.
I don't want you for one moment to believe what the media tells you these are radical, just impossible extremists.
You're a radical.
Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders endorsing progressives like Democratic Michigan Senate hopeful Abdul El Sayed.
I'm the only candidate for U.S. Senate who hasn't taken a dime of corporate money and never will. Only one who is for Medicare for all and the only one who's for abolishing ICE.
Critics attacked El Sayed for his comments after Ayatollah Khamenei was killed at the start of Operation Epic Fury.
I also want to remind you guys that there are a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad today.
Sanders backs progressive Peggy Flanagan in her Senate bid against moderate Democratic Minnesota Representative Angie Craig.
The only Democrat in Minnesota who voted with Donald Trump and Republicans to empower ICE was my primary opponent, Congresswoman Angie Craig.
Sanders also endorsed controversial Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner, who worries some Democrats.
He's described himself as a communist. He is the ultimate toy chest for the Republicans to campaign against him.
Some Democrats are concerned that extreme candidates could alienate mainstream voters in November. A Washington Post poll found that 53% of those surveyed believe Democrats are too liberal.
It certainly makes for easier matchups.
Far too liberal. The reason I left in 2010.
Nobody wants that type of wokeism.
But there's GOP baggage, too. Republicans hope to oust Ohio Democrat Marcy Kaptur. There's worry that former ICE official Madison Sheehan could be too toxic to beat Kaptur if she wins the House primary tomorrow. Brett?
Chad Pergram live on Capitol Hill. Chad, thanks. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed legislation creating a new congressional map in the state of Florida. The proposal was adopted during a special legislative session last week, as we told you about here on Special Report. The map changes to 21 of Florida's 28 districts and is seen as a big advantage for Republicans. The Florida Secretary of State's office tells Fox News it plans to use the map in upcoming primary elections pending litigation. Up next, we announce the winners of this year's Dr. Charles Krautthammer Memorial Scholarships and, as we do every year, talk with Charles's son, Daniel. And later, want to live longer, look better, what works, what doesn't? We begin our new series. As we reach America's 250th year, America is on trial. Can this country still live up to its founding promise, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Across 250 years of evidence, the same themes kept emerging. Unity despite dissent, freedom as an act of vigilant practice, resilience in the face of catastrophe. The Case for America, an argument on behalf of our nation. In stores May 5th.
Hey friends and neighbors, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what
Welcome back to Special Report. Each year, we honor the legacy of Dr. Charles Krautthammer through a scholarship awarded in his name. Charles was a fixture on our show for many years, and we often miss his voice and perspective. In fact, every night. Tonight, we meet this year's scholarship winners and look back at some of our favorite moments with Charles.
it's my job to call a folly a folly.
Charles Krautthammer was one of Fox News Channel's most consequential voices, a regular on the All-Star panel. Let's bring in our panel, syndicated columnist Charles Krautthammer, who wrote a book you may have heard of, Things That Matter.
3 decades of passions, pastime, and politics.
There we go. Known for cutting through the noise.
Allow me to enlighten the viewers on what's really happening, which is that none of this is going to matter.
As well as his humor.
I'm humbled and I'm speechless, which, as you know, is a rare experience for me.
And colorful candidate casino predictions.
30 on Bush, 15 on Scott Walker, and I blow the rest on booze.
A significant bet on Jeb Bush.
Right, but it's the booze that I'm looking forward to.
Charles' passion for learning led him to study psychiatry at Harvard Medical School, finishing at the top of his class even after a diving accident left him paralyzed.
There's an element of that in everybody's story, their low point. Do you want it enough, and are you lucky enough? That's a part of it, too.
Charles died in 2018, but his commentary remains poignant today.
Everyone in the region sees it. Everybody understands who the new hegemon in the region will be. It's going to be Iran. Putin's on the march. He could continue to march. The overwhelming threat is China's rising.
Fox News honors Charles each year, awarding scholarships in his name to the children of Fox News employees in partnership with the National Merit Scholarship.
He was just very honest and blunt, and I think a lot of the people around him respected him because he was just honest, but in a respectful way. It just serves as a lesson to lead a life with integrity.
Tess Sawney has an accomplished and diverse background. She is valedictorian of her class, a leader in Model UN, plays varsity soccer, and is active with the Volunteer Ambulance Corps.
I just didn't want to be siloed into one field or interest, and I'm drawn to different types of people doing different types of things. I love just trying new things. It keeps things exciting.
Tess plans to attend the University of Virginia this fall, and like Charles, she hopes to earn a degree in medicine, having already achieved her EMT certification.
I feel like just helping other people, it's just leads to a fulfilling life.
After leaving medicine, Charles came to Washington, where he worked with several presidential administrations and won the Pulitzer Prize for commentary.
It's nice to be a part of that legacy.
Amanda Parker has a robust academic record. As a valedictorian, she's the founder of her school's Math Honor Society and president of the Equity Club.
It was a way to just kind of collaborate and share perspectives to make everyone feel included in the school community.
Amanda is an avid dancer and member of her school's varsity tennis team. She plans to pursue environmental biology and marine sciences at Stony Brook University.
I just want to know more about how the world works and why it works that way. I'd love to be the person that is able to discover more.
Joining me now to celebrate this year's scholarship winners and reflect on Charles Krauthammer's lasting legacy is his son, Daniel Krauthammer. Great to see you.
So good to see you too, Brett.
Every year to celebrate this great thing that has just started to be a big moment, especially for these kids' lives.
No, it's really wonderful, and thank my family's thanks to you, to Suzanne Scott, to the whole Fox team for keeping this going for so many years. And this scholarship really celebrates so much of my father's memory, his love for learning, and we're really excited to congratulate Amanda and Tess. It's fun to see each year what these kids are interested in. And it looks like these two are into the sciences, Amanda in ecology and Tess in medicine. And as you know, my father spent a lot of his early life in those areas. And even though he found his way to writing and politics, I know he'd say that learning in any area enriches every other. So we're very happy for them.
He was also had his head in the stars. He loved space. And whenever I talked to him on this panel, in that very seat, he really light up when he talked about space and NASA. Here he is on the end of the space shuttle program.
The manned space program is dead. The administration has allowed it. The problem isn't the end of the shuttle. It was never a good idea. It was going to be ended whoever was in the administration. The problem is that Obama has canceled the follow-on. There is no way America is going to get into space, to men into space. Right now, we are going to have to hitch a ride, to beg a ride, to rent a ride on the Russian Soyuz. It's an incredible irony. We left him in the dust in the moon race, and now we are a supplicant.
He didn't get to see Artemis 2 launch, and now this continued program, but I imagine he would be happy about that.
Yeah, but I always try not to pretend to know what my dad would say about current day events, but this is a big exception. I know he would be 100% over the moon, pun intended, over Artemis 2 and what NASA's up to. He really loved space exploration, and it moved his soul and moved his spirit, and he wrote about it time after time over the decades. And if you look at what the new NASA administrator, Jared Isaacman, has laid out, it's doing exactly the kind of stuff my dad always advocated for, getting NASA back to pushing the envelope, getting us to the moon, to moon bases, eventually to Mars. He would be ecstatic about this, and I think encouraging all Americans to be proud.
Why do you think he was so focused? I mean, it was between baseball and space that got him really fired up.
A little bit of chess, too.
Yeah, chess, too.
But I think space, it was almost spiritual for him. Actually, when the space shuttle was still going, he took me to a launch when I was a kid. And the administrator of NASA at the time actually asked him to give a speech to Mission Control after the launch. And he told them that they were building the great cathedrals of our century. And I really do think he viewed the space program as this monument to mankind's civilization, to what we can achieve and to something that is in all of our spirit. And he wanted us to keep pushing that as a country.
The other issue that obviously we still play sound bites about his thoughts on Iran and the threat from Iran. Here's one about Iran's nuclear ambitions.
Iran has walked us from a position where we said no enrichment, no development of a nuke, all the way to a point where we are legitimizing it, we're granting it, and we are saying, well, we want to make sure it doesn't have a bomb today. Its best objective, its best hope is that Iran will be a year away, if everything works out in this deal. 1 year in the life of the world away, at which point it can develop a weapon, and then in 10 years, it can be right on the edge and the threshold of having a nuclear weapon.
You know, I so wished to hear him during these weeks as we're dealing with this Iran war. September 26, 2013, détente is difficult with a regime whose favorite refrain fed to frenzied mass rallies is death to America. Détente is difficult with a regime officially committed as a matter of both national policy and religious duty to the eradication of a UN member state, namely Israel. It doesn't get more zero-sum than that, talking about all the talk of moderates inside Iran.
Yeah, 100%, Brett. And this is an area I won't pretend to know what he would say about the specifics of our military operation today, but stepping back, the bigger picture is just as true today as when he said it and wrote it in those words he said, that he was always emphatic that we couldn't delude ourselves. Appeasement with a regime like this wouldn't work. We couldn't hope for some supposed moderate Ayatollah. If we were going to stop Iran, they had to be forced to stop. And as you read, he was emphatic that Iran couldn't be allowed to have a bomb. But what's especially relevant today, he always brought up what many people shied away from, their conventional weapons, their ballistic missile program, the proxy network. None of this was in the Iran nuclear deal, and it was one of his primary targets of criticism. And again, whatever the specifics of exactly what we're doing today, I think his overall message is just as clear now as then, that kicking the can down the road, it left us in this position we're in now, and that if we want a regime like this to set aside its malign intentions, it's not going to be from nice words, it's going to be because of maximum pressure of all kinds on all fronts until they retreat.
Well, we miss his words, we miss his voice every day. It's so great to see you every year. If people want to see or read more of it, they go to a website?
Yeah, absolutely. My father's official website, charleskrautthammer.com, has all of his old columns. You can read about his writings on Iran, on space, and his love of learning in general, all the different avenues. And it just makes me think so much that he would love what this scholarship is doing, encouraging the love of learning among these kids. And we're so happy to congratulate them.
Give your mom my best.
I will.
All right.
Absolutely, Brett.
Thanks. Up next, we start a new series looking at health and wellness trends. We'll tell you maybe what works, what doesn't. Take a look at it all, and later the panel with the latest developments in the Iran conflict and what could come next.
That's endorsed. Jay Edwards.
Live look here in New York City. Tonight we begin a series of reports about wellness and beauty trends, trying to separate what works from what's just noise. Correspondent Alexandria Hoff begins our coverage tonight.
Americans don't just want to live longer, they're investing more and more in how they look while doing so. Influencers are cashing in, pushing an array of questionable aesthetic procedures, but some are backed up by research. Red light therapy, for one, has been shown in several peer-reviewed studies to stimulate collagen production and reduce inflammation.
Red light masks get a thumbs up. The key is you want to do it regularly. Typically it's a couple of times a week, and it does take several months to see and feel those results.
In terms of lasers, doctors say fractional CO2 remains the gold standard to treat aging caused by UV rays and deep acne scars. But the recovery time is pretty lengthy. The verdict is still out on the power of cold plunges. Experts tell Fox the routine can help with muscle recovery, but the benefits beyond that appear mostly personal. How about saunas? Lots of people are stepping back into them, and one notable name in longevity tells us high heat is about to be the next big thing.
There's a different tier of benefit that unlocks when you get your core body temperature to 102.4. When you do that, you release these heat shock proteins, these chaperones that clean up debris and whatnot.
48-year-old Brian Johnson is not a doctor, but he's made himself into a science experiment as he seeks to live as long as possible while maintaining a youthful look. As part of that, Johnson is treated with the injectable Sculptra.
It's designed to allow your body to naturally produce collagen.
The biostimulator is having a big moment. One issue, how the body responds to it can be unpredictable.
Now, Botox remains far and away the most popular cosmetic injectable, and the price tag for all of this cannot be ignored. Even a moderate approach to trying to keep up with routine aesthetic treatments would cost at least $5,000 a year. Brett?
All right, Alex, look forward to the next installment. Appreciate it.
I'll be eliminating that in my
Trump's new initiative to escort ships through the
things to
Strait
do.
of Hormuz and what comes next with Iran. First, some of our Fox affiliates around this country and what they're covering tonight. Fox 25 in Oklahoma City with the investigation into Sunday's shooting that left several people injured at a park. Police say 2 men wearing ski masks just opened fire. No suspects are in custody yet. Fox 5 here in New York as a United Airlines passenger jet carrying 221 passengers from Venice, Italy, strikes a light pole on the New Jersey Turnpike as it comes in for a landing at Newark Liberty International Airport. The airline says none of the passengers or 10 crew members aboard that flight 169 were injured, and it landed safely. And this is a live look at Chicago from Fox 32, our affiliate there. One of the big stories there tonight, some workers at the Brookfield Zoo walk off the job as contract negotiations between the zoo and its employees union remain unresolved. The talks ended Friday
Worst
without
mayor in
an
the
agreement.
country.
The union says animal care specialists are continuing to work and that such care remains its top priority. That's good. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.
7777 Homes or visit leaffilter.com/homes.
Our country's booming now, despite the fact that we're in a, I call it a mini war, because that's all they are.
You have to ignore what Trump says from a factual standpoint.
I love that he's strangling the Iranian economy right now and blocking the strait.
This has been a tactical demonstration of prowess, but it's not achieved the strategic goals that the president announced.
We are not the ones that are the aggressor right now. We're the protectors. But at some point, if they continue to escalate, the United States is going to respond.
Well, we may be closer to responding as Iran has fired some things at different ships. The blockade
And I hope we do
continues,
respond.
And the Iranians are saying
Put an end to
they
it.
are not ready to accept what the U.S. is putting down. The foreign minister taking to X, Arachi, saying events in Hormuz make clear there's no military solution to a political crisis. As talks are making progress with Pakistan's gracious effort, the U.S. should be wary of being dragged back into quagmire by ill-wishers. So should the UAE. Project Freedom is Project Deadlock. That's from the Iranian foreign minister. The UAE mentioned there came under fire and they held off the missiles and projectiles fired there again today. Let's bring in our panel. Harris Faulkner is anchor of Faulkner Focus, co-host.
A great lady.
The 5 co-hosts, Jessica Tarloff and Jason Riley, Fox News contributor.
A great
Jason,
man.
What do you make? It seems like it's a very tenuous place. Clearly Iran is feeling a pinch economically, but at least rhetorically, they're pushing back.
They're pushing back. I think they're trying to call the president's bluff here, and it's an indication that this war isn't over. And I don't think it's going to be over until we resume military operations, frankly. And I hate to be pessimistic, but the pattern here with Iran is that They want to wait you out. They want to negotiate. They don't want to give an inch. And I think that's what it will take. And I do hope that the president sees this through, regardless of whether you think we should have gone in the first place. It's very important that we see this through, because Iran will be in a stronger position if we don't see it through. If they're left with the ability to control that straight 20% of the world's energy, not only a propaganda victory, but if they can do that as well, they will be in a much stronger position. So I hope the president sees this through, and I think, unfortunately, again, it's going to take more military action to see it through.
2 U.S. flagged vessels went through. Project Freedom, if we put up the bullet points, supports merchant vessels seeking to transit the Strait of Hormuz, enhances coordination among international partners, includes destroyers, over 100 aircraft, 15,000 service members, essentially an escort service through there. Admiral Cooper of CENTCOM talked about that today.
The IRGC has launched multiple cruise missiles, drones, and small boats at ships that we are protecting. We have defeated each and every one of those threats through the clinical application of defensive munitions. I've transited through the Strait of Hormuz probably 100 times in my career. You typically see between 20 and 40 small boats in a pack coming out. Today we saw 6 and eliminated them quickly. I think this is an example of the degradation of their capabilities.
Harris.
So eliminated them quickly. I'm going to think that it got kinetic. And this is now what I would call a less ceasefire ceasefire.
Yeah.
Right? But the thing to note here, and it's such an important point that you make, how much stronger Iran could get. I think about how much weaker perhaps the relationships in that region would get for us if we don't finish the job at this point. So it's complicated. With the Abraham Accords, there was more than hope there. There was, an actual agreement. The UAE acting more almost like a NATO ally to us than our actual NATO allies at times. Pulling out of OPEC and OPEC Plus and doing the things that could flood the market with oil and certainly benefit the United States and other countries around the world immediately when this ends. So I'm looking at the end game. I agree with you. I don't think we get to the end game without becoming more kinetic. I think that you've got to push them back. We've got to figure out exactly how much enriched uranium they really have above 60%. 60% still gives you a weapon, but not like 80%. So we really need some good answers at this point. I'm prayerful that we don't have to put boots on the ground, troops on the ground. There are people in those boots. But I'm not actually thinking that we won't have to go back in with some firepower.
Here is the Treasury Secretary on America's Newsroom today.
Project Freedom is something that's been in the works, and we would encourage the Iranians to let these more than 300 vessels leave. That they can fire on them. They're I think it's called the Mosquito Navy. Is being swatted. Numerous ships, maybe in double digits, have been destroyed. And the U.S., we are just firing if fired upon. We are not the provocateurs here. But if the Iranians want to escalate here, we are willing to escalate.
That's the message all day today, really, Jessica.
Well, it has been since the start of the war. I mean, we've heard every iteration of it's bridge and power plant day to I'm going to wipe Iran off the face of the universe, to today the president out there again saying not only is it a mini war, but this is going to be the end of Iran. And it looks like Iran isn't taking us that seriously at this point. And maybe that is what ends up leading to a proper escalation again. Maybe that is the way to finally finish that. But we've gone away from talking about the original goals here. We don't talk about, full eradication of their nuclear program anymore. We certainly don't talk about liberating the Iranian people from a regime that cares nothing for them. And the president has seemed over the past several weeks to not be as interested in this as he was certainly when they began. He's talking about Cuba now, focus other places, and I think that he's fully aware of how little support he has with the American people for this war. It's now less popular than the Vietnam War, which we know was very
wrong, thanks to you Democrats. Shame on you, and you.
Will not be able to get a nuclear weapon, and we will have eyes on that, as he calls it, nuclear dust that is under rubble, he says. How that all gets resolved and how the nuclear material, the enriched uranium, gets out of there is a big question yet to come. I do want to put up this U.S. oil crude export chart. It's truly amazing what the U.S. is pushing out of our country as the rest is not happening in the Strait of Hormuz. Now those tankers are coming to Texas.
I think in one of your earlier lead-ins, you mentioned, you showed John Fetterman saying we're squeezing the Iran economy, and that's an important point. Everyone talks about the U.S. calendar. You know, the midterm elections are coming up, the markets are jittery, voters don't like the war, it's unpopular. But Iran is also on the calendar here. My estimates, the estimates I've seen, say they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars a day. They cannot sustain that. 100 million here, 100 million there, soon it adds up to real money, Brett. And Iran, a country that size, cannot sustain those losses. That's why it's so important that we stay the course and finish the job there and meet those objectives, getting rid of the nuclear program, getting rid of the missile program, getting rid of the enriched uranium that they have in stockpile over there, and ending the worldwide terrorism that they're sponsoring. Those have to remain the objectives, and I hope the president keeps his eye on the ball.
And how you get from point A to point B is really the question.
Well, yes, and I just want to say something to what Jessica said. You know, we are hearing more about the Iranian people. There is a discussion that's going on about, you know, what it would take for them to stand up finally and the space that this is giving them. The problem is that they are an unarmed millions of people. A quarter of them are minors, which compared to the rest of the Middle East is not a huge number. It's still 25 to 26 million people underage, and you've got a population that's got to decide when it can stand up. I do think that the numbers matter here, and when the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, says today that, you know, an unpaid military, that's going to be tough, he's right about that. I mean, we don't know what the defection rate is over there right now. We do know that the IRGC is drunk on its own, like, fantastic view of itself, but a lot of their leaders are gone. So we're not really sure what they have. The mining situation of the Strait of Hormuz turned out to be a little bit more their fantasy, although we're really good at finding the mines. I haven't been convinced that we had that many to find, but we have to act like it because you don't know when they'll go off.
And quickly, reading between the lines of the Iranian foreign minister is the line, significant progress is being made with the Pakistanis.
That was a surprise.
He's saying, you know, whatever, U.S., forget you. He's saying significant progress is being made.
And who knows? I mean, he could be lying on Twitter. A lot of people are doing that these days. But it was the first time that we've heard anything about negotiations in at least the last 4 or 5 days, so that's a good thing after J.D. Vance's and Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner's trip was canceled. I'm hopeful for a diplomatic solution. The question will be to the nuclear program, can they get a deal that they feel is better than the JCPOA, which Donald Trump took us out of in 2018? And right now, with the posturing from their side and their willingness to drop out of these meetings, it doesn't indicate that they want to play ball at that level. Fighting about getting the Strait of Hormuz open was not how we intended to do this, and it has taken over the last 4 to 6 weeks of conversation. That's what concerns me.
And last word, Jason, in the middle of all of this, the economy is still really cooking.
Yeah. It is, and I hope that the public is patient with what's going on there because in the long run, again, this is very, very important for the U.S. economy.
All right, panel, thanks so much.
Thanks,
Tomorrow on Special Report, we will look at the congressional split over a law that shields social media. Meanwhile, countdown is on. You can order my new book, The Case for America, an argument on behalf of our nation. Actually hits stores in about 5 hours. You can order online at thecaseforamerica.com. I'll be signing books at Raptus Rare Books in Palm Beach, Florida this Friday, 7:30 p.m. You can get more information on my link on social channels. There you go. It's book time. Remember, if you can't catch us live, set your DVR. 6 p.m. in the East, 3 p.m. on the West Coast. You can follow me on TikTok at...
I just saw a little video of Dr. Grove. I'm going to send it to